Yo, what up? How's it going? And welcome back for another video. Today we're doing a patch 12.7 rundown for TFT Set 6.5. Now this is actually the Worlds patch. This is a patch Worlds will be playing on, even though there will be another patch in between now and then. They play on Tournament Realm, so this will be the Worlds patch. So yeah, exciting stuff. Actually, pretty small patch in terms of balancing. It's more so a lot of quality of life changes. So let's just get into it. All right, here we are. As always, we're using Mort Dog's video because they have not posted the official patch notes. One thing to note is that they did say, since there was a B patch last week, there is a decent chance that there might be some extra added things into here. I'll leave a link to any new things added to the patch notes, or I'll just add that to the pinned comment. Anything that changes from now till Wednesday. So there might be some small things added just because they came off a B patch and they don't have enough data yet. So anyways, with that out of the way, let's get into this. All right, Scholar. This is probably the biggest change in terms of traits on this patch is Scholar. It's a 50% buff at 4, which is pretty nuts. Like 50% is pretty crazy. And then just 5 mana on 6. Pretty negligible, honestly. Now, this is really relevant, especially for bodyguard composition. So bodyguards naturally can fit more scholars just because of Debonair and Syndicate. And then if you have a Scholar Crest, or I think they're getting rid of that, Scholar Heart. If you have a Scholar Heart, then you just literally add a Silco and you can play around Debonair, Syndicate, that sort of thing. So it actually is a buff to the bodyguard tree. And a lot of stuff in this, a lot of the changes they make in here are some small buffs to the bodyguard tree because they just kind of ping back and forth between bodyguards and bruisers. Not to say like any crazy meta shakeup's going to happen, but yeah, just a cool thing right here. Something else that's pretty nice right here is if you do want to play like Victor. So, you know, the other side of it, if you are playing around Victor and Chemtex, that sort of thing, and you can fit in 4 Scholar, this is going to be very nice on Victor for sure. Also, something that's really interesting about this is it makes, if you actually are able to fit 4 Scholar, it makes 2 Socialite a little bit less like important if you are playing around Socialite compositions, but they do give Seraphine some changes to compensate for that. But 4 Scholar is difficult to fit unless you have a Scholar Heart. It's just very difficult to hit. So it's not like this is going to be something you can play every single game, but I could see 4 Scholar being pretty good in the right circumstances. So try it out this patch. Twin Shot. So Twin Shot is going to take it down 5 and 10 right here. People, you know, throughout this whole set have slowly realized how good Twin Shots are this whole time. And so on all these later patches, they've been just like bumping down Twin Shots because they've actually been very strong since the first B patch of this set, and they just kept buffing them. And then now they're like, now they're having to nerf them down. So, but this is just going to hurt Twin Shot Vertical. If you guys were not playing Twin Shot Vertical, then this doesn't do anything to that. But overall, Twin Shots are just really strong. They've been strong this whole set. And if you like playing Twin Shots, you can probably still play Twin Shots. This shouldn't gate you from playing Twin Shots or anything like that, especially if you play Lucian Variation. You know, you're really counting on the magic damage on a lot of the Twin Shots anyway. So, you know, not too bad. All right, Yordles is getting mana reduction. This is for 6 Yordles. So if you run a 6 Yordle composition, it's mana reduction. Honestly, just a fun change because 6 Yordles don't get played that much anyway. So just a fun change. Maybe you guys want to try out 6 Yordles. This is more relevant on like the frontline Yordles like Gnar and Vex because they'll actually be able to cast earlier to be more tanky, and for Gnar to get his extra damage off. For something like Corki, probably matters a little bit less, but, you know, pretty nice overall. They talked about these forever. All right, champions, large. So there's not a lot of champion changes, so these are considered large changes. Okay, Ashe. So Ashe is getting bug fixed. So Ashe mana is now 30-60 as intended. It was actually, instead of 30-55, this is what it was on the current patch, if you guys are watching this on the previous patch. 30-55 right there. So they're just giving her a compensation buff, just making her spell hit a little bit harder because they're kind of happy where Ashe was, but they just want this corrected because it is an intended change. So they're just giving her a slight buff to make her feel power neutral. So Ashe shouldn't be any different at all than what you were just playing, at least the unit by itself. Seraphine is getting a compensation buff. I'm looking at this as a compensation buff for Scholar being, because if you want to play 4 Scholar, Seraphine is a lot less valuable if you're like trying to stack Socialites on somebody, right? Because, you know, it's a lot easier just to play Senna or just to play Galio if you're using him as your frontliner, right? So I look at this as more of a compensation. And as well as Seraphine just hasn't been that amazing this whole set. Definitely nothing like what she was last set. But, you know, those ice cream builds have been coming out, the chalice builds, the soju build. You know, people have started playing it again. So, you know, if you guys like that style, building the ice cream cones, building the chalices, then yeah, I would try it out. Try out Seraphine carry, or not, or if you don't play that style, you know, Seraphine's just going to be a better utility unit if you're just playing her naturally as a utility unit. So be looking out for Seraphine in your games. All right, Zeri is getting a small buff. Just apparently they said she's not performing quite as well in the data as some of the other 5-cost carries like Victor, especially Victor is very strong. So they're just giving her this small buff right here. And what they wanted to do was to make her less reliant on Rageblade. I don't even know if she is reliant on Rageblade. I know Rageblade does scale her very hard, but I've never felt like I needed to build that on her. But either way, this is just a nice buff onto Zeri, especially help her get her ult off initially at the beginning of the fight. She has that base attack speed built in. And if you want to build like ramping stuff like Rageblade and stuff like that, since it is a base buff, it is going to ramp it harder. So, you know, stuff like Rageblade is going to be good. And then alternative builds, if you just want to build full damage, will be better as well. Obviously, just a base stat increase. Okay, Tryndamere is getting a base stat increase. So it's 20, 90, and 110. So that is 15 at 2-star. That's the one that is most relevant to us because that is most likely what you're going to play in most of your games. So 15 buff right there is pretty nice on the damage. Now, I actually really like this. So this buffs like critical strike, Tryndamere, that sort of thing, obviously a lot. But I actually like playing tank Tryndamere a lot. If you guys don't know tank Tryndamere, it hasn't been that good. But if you want to have a fun time, play some tank Tryndamere. I like playing it a lot. It's pretty fun. Basically, you just build Sunfire and then pure tank items after that. You really want to have like Sunfire, Bramble, Declaw, and you just spin to the back line, and if they start hitting you, the enemy carries will literally kill themselves on your Tryndamere who's dealing no damage, but he's doing all this passive damage. So it's actually is nice for that build because this is extra passive damage on there for his base spell damage, right? So yeah, Tryndamere getting buff, honestly, definitely needed. He's just like, Tryndamere can never shine because Warwick is always dominating the meta, and they have to keep his comp down because, you know, you can't have Tryndamere and Warwick strong at the same time. It'd be so oppressive. So does this make Tryndamere strong? I don't think so. They nerfed Chemtech on the last patch, but if you guys want to have some fun playing some Tryndamere, play some Tryndamere. You can build him full damage, build him full crit, or try the tank Tryndamere build. It's really fun. I'm not promising you LP, but it is pretty fun. I do have fun playing that one. Anyways, Galio is just getting a spell HP ratio. So if you want to stack some more HP on him, actually stack some tank on him, they're really just pushing him into being more of a tank. Then do that. And they said he's just the lowest performing 5-cost. I actually low-key think he's pretty good, but you know, it's just the bruiser tree is still better and stuff like that. It's just hard to fit Galio in the current state of the game. But look, as a unit by himself, I actually low-key think he's pretty good. It's just kind of hard to fit him into most of the meta composition. So they're just giving him a small buff there because he is underperforming in the data. So augment changes large. So most of this patch is actually augment changes, and a lot of it is quality of life. Not a lot of this is actual balance changes. A lot of it is just moving around from tiers and removing some stuff and changing some of the rules on which they can show up, which is interesting. Anyways, all right, Double Trouble is getting a nerf, so it's just going down right here by 5, by 5, by 5. This shouldn't change if you want to play these in scenarios. Basically, a lot of on the balance changes on this patch, except for Electrocharge, is they're trying to change. They're really balancing the very specific, the very niche augments, because the very niche augments are just like way too strong. They've been way too strong the entire set. They're really close to not being way too strong, and they're just trying to nudge it into more of a balanced state. So you'll see a lot of these very like niche scenario augments changed a lot. Cool. So down just a little bit. Still should be good in the scenarios you want to play it, like when you're playing reroll 3-cost, 2-cost, that sort of thing. All right, Electrocharge is just getting a buff. This is just a small number buff. Across the board, just hasn't been performing super well in the data and will no longer appear on 4-6 because, you know, it's hard to like build a composition around Electrocharge. Even though it does have scaling now, it's still hard to build, like, you know, if you weren't playing a tanky composition and then you get this offered, you're just like, oh, well, what now? All right, Enchanter Soul is getting buffed. So Enchanter Soul, 12 gold is a lot, and you can get this at 1-4. So this is a lot. And the reason why they're doing this is just because, you know, it's really bad to take Enchanter Soul. It's a prismatic, and you take an arrow game, it's not very good. Enchanters don't really do anything in the early game. Most of the damage in the early game is attack damage, just like even tanks. They do a lot of attack damage in the early game. So they're giving this a buff. And before you say it, before you look at all of this stuff, there is like a econ creep in this game right now, where they're just increasing the amount of gold added into the early game. There really is an econ creep in this game, and it's been really bad this entire set. And the devs do talk about it in their rundown. They talk about that they do realize that there's this econ creep, but there's really nothing they can do about it right now. They just need They're just like focusing on making the game as balanced as possible right now for Worlds, and they'll address the econ creep later. And obviously going into set 7, they are keeping in mind the econ creep that has like really shown up in set 6. So yeah, just so you know, the devs do know that there's this econ creep in the game. They're just trying to make what they think is the healthiest game for the World Championship, which is on this patch. So all right, 4 score is going down from gold to silver. You can't be offered this on 1-4, but if you get this on 3-3, it is, you know, it's 16 gold and 4 cost units. So this is a really good silver augment at 3-3. This is very good at 3-3. So be looking out for 4 score on this next patch, especially as a silver augment. It's either 16 gold or, you know, you do get 4 cost units. So you can really build a composition around that on stage 3. Very nice. Golden Ticket is getting a slight buff. It's just to put it more in line with all the other econ stuff they're adding. Cool. Hextech Unity has been removed. It's pretty garbage augment. Like, and you can almost never fit it because a lot of times you're playing Hextech, you're playing Hextech Vertical. And especially with Alistair being on there, Alistair being a Colossus, it's just impossible to fit extra units. And like, who cares if you get Hextech Unity, you know what I mean, on your other units? So it doesn't really matter that much. The only unit that like really benefits a lot from this that is naturally in that build is like Jace. But everyone else, like, who cares? So Hextech Heart is going from silver to gold. And I know that may seem kind of weird if you're looking at this. And then Hextech Crest is being removed. So Heart is replacing Crest. The reason why that is again, because of Alistair. Because a lot of times whenever you're playing Hextechs, you are playing vertical. You're playing 6, 8, or 4, obviously. But most of the time you're playing 6 if you're doing the like classic Sivir build. If you're actually going to play a vertical build, you're either playing 6 or 8. And if you're doing that, Hextech Crest or Hextech Heart is actually better than Crest because you have to play Alistair. You want to play Alistair, and so you can't fit extra units on your board to put a Crest onto them. So it's just better for your comp construction for having Hearts. And all the units that you play in that build don't really benefit from having Hextech Crest on them, except for Jace. Jace is like the only unit that naturally fits in that build that you'd care to have it on. But everyone else, but you know, you don't even know where you're getting Jace. Put it on Vi, you put it on Aurelia, like who cares? So it's just better to have Heart so that you can have more flexibility in your composition whenever you're playing vertical. So that's why that was changed there. High 5 is going from prismatic to gold. Ooh, interesting how that will settle out. And also more gold being injected into a gold augment. So interesting how that's going to play out. Keep an eye on that. Irresistible Charm is going from silver to gold. That is the Debonair augment. So they're just changing that. Again, this is to address that the trait-specific augments are very, 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 very strong. So they're just moving it to gold so they don't have to keep gutting it. So like either they could just keep cutting down the numbers or keep it strong and change it to gold. So they're going to keep it strong and change it to gold. Will still be great if you guys are like forcing Talon, playing a Syndra build, that sort of thing. Will be very good, very, very good. Junkyard no longer appears on stage 3-3. Will only appear on 1-4 now. And the amount of turns for a component is being changed from 3 to 4 because this has been performing super, super well. I'm fine with that change, and you can't get on 3-3. Good change, honestly. So this is a very, very, very strong augment early game. Okay, makeshift armor going down. Probably deserved. Makeshift is very strong, so just a 5 nerf right there, but shouldn't change whether or not you should take it. Pirates, chance of gold increase, or chance of them dropping gold is going to 66%. Pretty cool. So if you guys are wanting to play mercs, you know, a lot of these changes are pretty cool for if you're wanting to like for fun the rest of the set. Like if you just want to force pirates, or not, what are they called? Mercs. Mercs and Yordles. Mercs and Yordles are both buffed on this patch. So if you guys are just for funning the rest of the set, I'd give this a try. But this is nice. And then Scholar Crest is being removed just because there's no difference between Scholar Crest and Scholar Heart. So that's why it is being removed. There's literally no difference except for the, you know, what is 150 health you get on the thing, and for scrap components, there's no difference at all. So there's really no point of it being in the game anymore. I guess small nerf to scrap, but I don't think that really matters, or I don't think that's something you're planning for. Okay, Sharpshooter is going from gold to prismatic. Now this is actually an interesting change for 2 reasons. So one, it's getting changed from gold to prismatic for exactly the same reason why Irresistible Charm is going from silver to gold. Because it's just really, really, really strong. If you're playing sharpshooters and you're offered this, there is no other choice. It doesn't matter how good the other augments are. There is no other choice. If you're playing sharpshooters, you are taking this. So it going to prismatic really doesn't change much. You know what is interesting about this though, is that since it's a prismatic, it is less likely to appear now. just because by nature of it being a prismatic over a gold. So in the situations where you were pivoting out of sharpshooters, it is less likely to show up. So that is actually a cool thing for if you're just playing sharpshooters as an item holder. Because I've had a lot of games, I play a lot of sharpshooters, but a lot of times I just play sharpshooters as item holders, because very good item holders, Lucian, Corki, GP, good item holders, right? So a lot of times I'll be playing that and then I'll get offered this and the other two augments are dead. And so I have to take it. And I was like not building, you know, amazing items for my actual sharpshooter carries. I was trying to pivot out. So very interesting stuff that's happening right there. Sniper's Nest is going from silver to gold. I guess it was performing super well. It's again, just trying to put it on par. All these trait specific augments, they're noticing that in the situations that you actually do take them, they are very strong. And in other situations, you just don't want to take them. So yeah, I'm fine with it moving up as well. Yordle's dodge chance on so small is going down from 30% to 25%. This has been very strong, so definitely warranted. Spellblade is being nerfed. I don't know why it's being nerfed. Maybe it's strong. I don't know. I don't play a lot of Arcanist and haven't been keeping up with this. So, but I guess it was performing well in the data. It's going to go down a little bit. But in the situations that you wanted to take it, you can still take it. But if you're like forcing around Spellblade builds, which I wouldn't think anyone does, then I would think about this a little bit more, right? But in the situations you wanted to take it already, it shouldn't change anything. Triforce, they're just two need-on numbers, 10, 10, and 10. Just 10% across the board. Again, this is just hitting the very niche scenarios because those niche scenarios have been overperforming this entire set. So they're just trying to put them in line for Worlds. Thieving Rascals no longer appears on 3-3. Chance of an item, 40%. Down to 33%. That went down. This has been very strong the whole set, so I'm fine with it being nerfed a little bit. And it can no longer appear on 3-3, so it'll only appear on 1-4. So yeah, it'll be nice in that situation. Tiny Titans. Now this is a really interesting change, going from gold to silver. If you guys paid attention on my last rundown, whenever we were talking about Tiny Titans, I said, I don't know when you would ever want to take this at a gold augment and it giving you this. And it can't appear on stage 4 anymore. And this augment was so good on stage 4, but it's trash on 1-4 and it is okay on 3-3, but it's never what you prefer. So this going down from gold to silver, I think this actually makes this a pretty decent 3-3 augment. This is still a garbage augment to take on 1-4 because you don't get any carousel priority. Which is the whole value of loose streaking, or half the value of loose streaking, right? You guys know why Tiny Titans is bad if you've been paying attention long enough. So I think this is a really interesting change and actually makes this a pretty good augment on stage 3. So I would consider taking this on stage 3. I still would not look to take this on 1-4. Doesn't mean you can't ever take it, but yeah, I would not look to take this on 1-4 most of the time still. But I could be wrong about that. But it was garbage as a gold augment to take at 1-4. Very, very, very bad. So yeah, I think it's going to be good on 3-3. And, you know, maybe it'll be okay on 1-4. Try it out, maybe. But if I had to guess, I'd say not so good. Twin Shot Soul being taken out. Just again, Twin Shot's being hit very hard. Twin Shot is getting hit pretty hard this patch, isn't it? Got hit pretty hard last patch. The whole thing is Twin Shots have been good this whole set, and just no one knew how to play them. No one thought they were good. No one knew how to play them this entire set. And just like every patch, more and more people have jumped on the Twin Shot train of them being good. And now they're just having to push them back because even the devs were buffing them when they were good the whole time. So very strange. So now they're trying to bring them back down to earth because Twin Shots have been so good this whole set. It's kind of crazy. Anyways, cool. So this going down. Yeah, shouldn't be a big difference if you want to take it. But, you know, if you do get this early again, this is a big difference on your econ threshold. Big nerf to Twin Shot Soul, actually. Actually, a big nerf to it. But if you like playing Twin Shots, you're going to play Twin Shots anyways, and it makes no difference, right? All right, Windfall. They're just buffing this because of all the extra gold injection, like the Enchanter Soul and, you know, Tiny Titans being made to Silver Augment. So they're just trying to put this augment more in line with the other eco-based augments that are getting buffs on this patch. And again, as I said earlier, the devs do understand that there is an econ creep in this game that especially is very apparent in set 6. And they're just not able to address it right now. So they're just trying to make all of the econ augments feel similar in terms of power. You know, they're going to feel different, but they're trying to make them as similar as possible just for Worlds, try to create a healthy game state for now. But they will address the gold or the econ creep later patches of this set and going into set 7, of course. So Woodwind Charm is getting a buff. Cool. Very good earlier on in the game, but falls off a little bit later. So I'm fine with this getting buffed. And then Woodwind Trinket is getting removed. The reason why it's getting removed is it had so many weird interactions and very unintuitive to play, and they just don't think they have enough time or enough manpower to properly change this and properly make it feel intuitive to play around in time for Worlds. So they're just removing it. Yeah, so goodbye Woodland Trinket. Goodbye Woodland Trinket. Okay, champions small. So Caitlyn is getting buffed. Caitlyn is getting a mana buff right here. This is interesting if you get a, you know, I've been trying to theory craft a Caitlyn Scholar build for a while, just for fun, like purely for fun. And, you know, this change, along with the Scholar buff, you get a Scholar crest, playing around that. You know, guys, here's the build I've been theory crafting. Maybe try it out. You play Kassadin. You play around Kassadin, Zyra, Ashe, Caitlyn, right? And Darius. So you can reroll Darius, reroll Caitlyn, reroll Kassadin as your 1 cost. And then if you want to play for 2 cost carries, then you can reroll. It's very similar to like the Kog'Maw build, but just a little bit different. Then you can also carry an Ashe and reroll Ashe or Zyra. And then we just add a bodyguard, add an extra bodyguard later, which will be Braum later on in the game. So we get Syndicate. We can play around 5 Syndicate, that sort of thing. But I don't know. I've been theory crafting it. And if you get a Scholar crest or Scholar heart, then you can play around 4 Scholars with Caitlyn's. Caitlyn's getting a mana buff. Interesting stuff. Maybe try it out if you want to try some fun builds with Caitlyn carry. Try out some Scholar-esque Caitlyn carry builds around Syndicates. That's what I've been trying to theory craft for a while, but just for fun though. Don't blame me if it was a bunch of LP trying to force it. Okay, Senna is just getting a base buff. You know, Senna reroll has been pretty non-existent, so I don't think this brings it back or anything like that. But they did buff Enchanter Soul, so maybe in the situation where you get Enchanter Soul in the early game, maybe you can play some Senna carry. Who knows? But yeah, Senna carry has not been very in meta for a while, so they're just giving her a nice little base buff right here. Also, something important to note about this is a base buff to. It's also a base buff to the bodyguard tree as well, because, you know, bodyguards and enchanters pretty much go well together. And as I said, each patch they just ping pong between buffing bruisers and buffing bodyguards. But at least on this patch, they're buffing the bodyguard tree, but not really nerfing the bruiser tree. So pretty cool. That's not ping ponging super hard. Cho'Gath is getting a 50 health buff. Cool. This is going to help his scaling on his passive on his ultimate as well, because it does scale off his base health, right? So this is nice. Just if you guys like playing Cho'Gath, just a nice little buff right here. But if you don't play Cho'Gath, this is not the change that should make you pick him up. You know what I'm saying? All right, Ari. Ari is getting a 10 buff right here. Nice little bonuses onto Ari. If you guys like playing Ari, keep playing Ari. If you didn't like playing Ari before, you know, I would consider picking up, if you guys weren't playing around like bodyguards and bodyguards, arcanists, enchanters, that whole sort of tree, I would consider, you know, trying that out this patch. If you guys were only playing around Bruiser, Sivir, that sort of thing, I would consider trying out this other tree. That's not to say that the stuff you were playing last patch won't be good, but I would consider trying out this tree a little bit more. Okay, Kha'Zix's jump speed is being increased, and they also said that they're working on his movement, either his movement speed or his movement pattern, his pathing. They're trying to mess with that to make him feel a little bit more consistent, to kind of put him more on par with the other 4-cost AD carries. But yeah, so this is just gonna be a nice quality of life change for Kha'Zix. He will jump a little bit faster. We'll see how much it actually changes his gameplay. I have no idea how much this is gonna change his gameplay. It just says speed increase, so who knows what that means. All right, Jhin. So Jhin is getting a 10 mana nerf. So he got a 20 mana buff. And so they're just halfway reverting the buff that they gave him. And even Mortdog said in his rundown, they said that they are completely willing to just revert this back. So they're completely willing to revert this back. I played a few games of Jhin on this patch. Yo, blue buff Jhin felt so good because he literally insta-casts. As soon as the fight starts, he goes, pulls out his gun, right? So, if you guys were already playing Jhin, if you guys started playing Jhin because of this mana buff, I still think he'll still be pretty good. But again, they could revert this and just keep him at 50 mana. They're just not sure. They're just like trying to be like, oh, maybe Jhin is actually strong and flying a little bit under the radar, or they don't have enough data collected right now. So they're just adding this in the patch notes right now so people can expect it. But they might just revert it if Jhin is not overperforming or anything like that. But I've had fun playing Jhin on this last patch. And I will probably continue to play him even with this 10 mana nerf. Okay, Victor is getting a 5 mana nerf, and this is also compensation for they're buffing Scholar. So if you actually are able to play 4 Scholar, there's 4 Scholars getting buffed. So this is compensation for that. And Victor is the highest performing legendary unit in the game right now as a carry. But they said they want him to be strong, and Victor is going to still be strong. Like, this is not going to change anything fundamentally. He's just going to cast slightly slower, like the slightest of slightly slower. Like, this will change individual fights sometimes, maybe like 2% of the time, right? But it doesn't actually change Victor's power as a unit at all. He will still be very good. Okay, augment changes, small. A lot of these are just, again, just quality of life changes, just changing when they compare. So these are a lot of, I hate that this game has so many secret rules. And even me, someone who like really pays attention and is still in the know, like I hate all these secret rules about augments, stuff like that. Like I hate like forbidden knowledge, or not forbidden knowledge, but just this hidden knowledge that if you're really not paying attention, you won't have access to. So I don't like that as a whole, but they're really trying to address, a lot of games really feel like augment diff. Like you're just offered 3 bad augments and someone else is offered, the best augment possible for their board. So they're really trying to limit those amount of scenarios, especially going into worlds, because a lot of games really do feel like augment diff, and that feels really, really bad. It's one of the reasons why I haven't enjoyed playing this set as much, is a lot of the games just feel like, well, I got more dogged on augments. Anyway, so that's really the main motivation for this stuff. So featherweights no longer appear on stage 4. Awesome. Shield value on keepers getting buffed. Cool. Probably needed to be buffed. Lifelong warning no longer appears on stage 3-3. God bless. Can only appear hyper early game now. Luden's Echo no longer appears on 4-6. Cool. Mercenary no longer appears on a 4-6. God bless. How long did it take to make that change? Jesus. Anyways, Rich Get Richer can only appear on 1-4 now. Good. It's very good on 1-4. It's a bait on stage 3 almost all the time. Stand United no longer appears on 1-4. It's pretty impossible to use or play around Stand United in the early game. You really take it and understand that you're going to have a weak early game, so I'm fine with that change. Stored Power no longer appears on stage 3-3. Cool. Trade Sector no longer appears on stage 3-3. Cool. True 2s no longer appears on stage 3. God bless. God bless. This thing is so useless. It's just 12 gold. That's all you get. Underdogs, you can roll the dice and sometimes it can be crazy, but really it's just 12 gold. Underdogs no longer appears on 4-6. Yeah, that's fine, I guess, because a lot of times you try to build like a composition around that, especially if you're going to be, if you already have like the dummies, the dummy bodyguard things, then this would suck. So yeah, I'm fine with this not being offered at this stage. And also, if you get this earlier on in the game, you can plan around playing Colossus, that sort of thing. So yeah, I'm fine with that actually. Verdant Veil no longer appears on stage 1. God bless. It'll save a lot of you guys who were taking this most dead augment in the early game. No one has CC in the early game. So God bless, very good. All right, bug fixes, very small bug fixes. Usually I say like these bug fixes are really important. You need to pay attention to them, but really none of these are important at all. Just on mobile, Kale's portrait is fixed. Fix an issue, reducing some augments appearance rates on 1-4. Oh, okay. So that's actually important, but nothing that, we can even think about or conceptualize here. It's just some augments were not appearing normally on 1-4. And Vigar now correctly only attacks once between casts, down to 2 when he gains enough mana to repeat cast. This insanely niche scenario. This is the only scenario in which this is a problem, so this will not be a thing that you'll notice. So none of these bug fixes actually matter for this patch very much. But anyways, patch predictions. Guys, I think you can play whatever you were playing last patch, and if it was working for you, I think you continue to play it. I really don't have any other predictions outside of that, other than that, like maybe there'll be like a sleeper Caitlyn build that'll come out. And the only other stuff that I'd keep an eye on is Scholar bodyguard builds, right? Building around Scholars and building around bodyguards and all the good stuff. But really, honestly, this is a very small patch in terms of balance. This is mostly a quality of life change. Whatever you're playing last patch will be fine, but maybe think about playing around some Scholar builds for fun and, keep theory crafting that Caitlyn build. That Caitlyn build looks pretty fun that I've been trying to make work. But anyways, that's gonna be it for the patch rundown. I appreciate all of you guys that came by today. If you guys want more of me, I stream at twitch.tv/TradingTFT, and I post on twitter.com/TradingTFT pretty much every day. I'm kind of on a hiatus right now. I don't really enjoy this set, so yeah, I'm not streaming nearly as much. But once we get into set 7, I'll be streaming like crazy, as always. But anyways, that's me it for the video. I appreciate all of you. Hope you have a fantastic day, fantastic night, wherever you are. I just hope you're doing well. See you guys. Bye.